Oh, is it my turn? Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm an addict. I've got something I need to get off my chest, something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. It used to be that I could just have one, and it was okay. And then that one turned into 5. But lately it seems like I just can't stop. Before I know it, they're all gone. What?
What are you doing?
I'll be out in a minute. My name's Brian, and I'm addicted to potato chips. Today I'm saying no, it's time to break the cycle. No! They're bad for you, they make your hands all greasy, they're loaded with fat, and worst of all, you can't pronounce half the stuff that goes into them. So today I'm going to show you how to make some healthy chips in the freeze dryer. So what's so addictive about potato chips? Some would say it's the crunch, some would say it's the greasy flavor, the extra seasoning that's added, the salts. And it's so easy just to grab a bag and just have a quick snack. So today I've got 4 different vegetables that I think can be a healthy alternative to potato chips that are still going to satisfy most of those. I've got 4 empty trays. So first we'll start off with some carrots. And I found these at the grocery store. They're carrot chips. What are really cool about these carrot chips is they already kind of look like potato chips, which kind of helps you get over that mental block of eating a carrot instead of a greasy, delicious potato chip. So if you're like me, you're not dazzled by just the taste of a plain carrot. So I'm just going to take some Traeger rub that I use on everything. I'll put a link up here, and then I'll put one down in the description for the video if you want to make it. Otherwise, any kind of seasoned salt or something like that would be just fine. But I'm just going to hit it just on the top, and that's really all there is to it. I think these are going to be awesome because they're going to give you the crisp that you want out of a potato chip. Next we have, and I'm real interested to see how these turn out freeze dried, beets. So beets, just out of the can, I would imagine are pretty bland, so we're gonna have to come up with a way to kind of spice these up a bit. So I have never done beets before, but I do know that they have a pretty good amount of natural sugar in them. So I'm gonna put these are just silicone baking mats. I've used them many, many times. If you're new to freeze drying, I would probably keep them in your arsenal of stuff, but it just keeps stuff from sticking to the pans. And I'm gonna do half with some cumin on them and then half with some cinnamon. All right, there's our cumin. So I decided for the other half, along with the cinnamon, I'm gonna do some turmeric also. Third into the tray, I'm gonna do some Vlasic Pickles. And if you get these sandwich stacker size, if you just cut them right in half, they give you the perfect size for a chip. And I don't think I'm gonna put any seasoning on these. They're already well seasoned with vinegar. On our 4th tray, we're gonna do some turnips. So keep in mind that these turnips are raw. We're not cooking them, but they're totally fine to eat raw. In fact, I like turnips a lot because they taste a little bit like a radish. Not quite as potent as a radish, but it still has a little bit of that zing to it. And I'm just gonna use the food processor and make my chips out of it. So I'm cutting these into pieces that will fit inside the food processor. And you can see the food processor is the way to go because it gives them a nice even consistency. They're real thin, and that's a good thing since they're raw. It'll help dry them out quicker. It'll help give it probably a good crisp to it like a potato chip. And I've been kind of going back and forth on what to put on these for flavor. And I've decided on some smoked paprika, just to top it off, some garlic salt. So you know the drill by now. We're gonna freeze these until tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Hello and welcome back. We're gonna get this thing pre-frozen. We're doing non-liquids, pre-frozen, and then in half an hour we're gonna throw them in here for the freeze dry. So a little bit interesting, the turnips got real thin, which makes me think that they're actually gonna turn out really well. Carrots also kind of shriveled up a bit. Beets shriveled up a bit. pickles as well. So I have high hopes for really all of these. I think they're gonna do really well. I'll get all this buttoned up here and we will get to freeze drying. And while we're waiting for that, I want to talk about a couple of things. And you're probably wondering what in the hell I'm doing. I am putting a couple of clamps on my door because my freeze dryer is now like 3-ish years old. It might even be older than that. I can't even remember when I bought it, honestly. Long enough that there's maintenance. There's maintenance on anything you buy. And the thing that I need to do is buy a new door seal because they do wear out. They're holding a lot of pressure, and that rigidity and that spring that it has against this this plastic panel, it just goes away over time and you get flat spots on it and it just needs to be replaced. So I ordered a new one. Things don't last forever, and really the nature of this freeze dryer, you know, it takes a pretty good beating. So anything you can do to keep it maintained, running at its optimal. And really this is the first thing that I've had to replace on this freeze dryer after years and years of pretty much abuse. The other thing that I want to talk about is take this time while we're waiting for this to freeze dry to join the Facebook group if you have not. We're nearing 3,500 members now. There's so much useful information, and there's so many new members and so many seasoned members that there's just a plethora of information on there. And I'm just going to keep on adding information as I get it. Members do the same. And we're also doing giveaways now. This next giveaway will be coming up real soon. I also have a pretty big announcement that I'm going to release only on the Facebook group, so you'll have to stay tuned for that. It's something this freeze-dried community has needed for a while now. Also take a minute to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you like the content, and click the bell to get notifications of a new video that comes out every Sunday. I also put a playlist down below for freeze drying videos. I think I have over like 100 freeze drying videos now. So if you're ever looking for something, use that as a resource. All right, that was a really fast cycle. It was only 28 hours, and I'm a little hesitant sometimes to trust the real short cycles. So we're gonna drain the chamber and we'll see what it looks like. It looked really good, and there's something really interesting too. It's really hard to see, but normally there is a ton of ice around this chamber, and there's barely any ice on here. And the lack of ice is actually a good thing because that means there wasn't a lot of moisture to start with. So let's look these over and then have a taste test. So the first thing you'll notice is they shrunk quite a bit. Everything, you know, these were pretty full trays and everything just kind of shrunk down. But what's most important to me is how these taste and can they replace a potato chip. Let's try the carrots first. They're nice and crunchy. They have a good texture. They're still kind of bland. You get a lot of the carrot taste, which is what I was hoping would kind of go away. I'm wondering if maybe you soaked this in some kind of brine solution before you freeze dried it, if that would help. But it's not so bad that I wouldn't eat a lot of them. I think the right answer for all of this is probably just finding the right seasoning versus the natural flavor of whatever you're freeze drying, that right combination. Let's do the turnips. The turnips are good. They really don't have a whole lot of flavor, but mixed with that smoked paprika, that paprika is what makes that right there. So one thing that I was a little nervous about was the thickness of all these. The beets were pretty thick, the carrots were pretty thick, the pickles were thick, the turnips were pretty thin, but I don't think that really affects it. I was trying to make sure that it actually got dry, but you still kind of had the resemblance of a chip. But really the turnips are almost too thin to the point where they just want to crumble, and they could have easily been a lot thicker than that. Next, let's do these beets because these are something that I was really excited about. I love beets, but the taste of beets plain isn't always really for everyone. I like the beets quite a bit. I'm not sure that what I put on here was really the right combination. I don't think I like the turmeric on there. But again, if you can find that right combo, I think it'll really make them good. I would have no problem eating this whole tray. I saved the pickles for last because I've got a feeling these are going to be the winner. and they're really good. These pickles were extremely salty, and I thought that it would make them even more concentrated and more just more of a pop of salt, but it actually toned it down a little bit, surprisingly. And that should be said for all of these so far. I thought I was gonna over season them. Seasoning is definitely your friend on these because it doesn't feel like you're eating a bunch of, a mass quantity of vegetables that way. All of these could have used some more salt other than the pickles that are already very salty out of the jar. Surprisingly, the two things that I didn't think that I would like are my favorites. I really like the turnips and I really like the beets. And I think with the right flavor combo on those beets, you'd really have a big winner. I think that would be my favorite, hands down. Well, it looks like I found a new addiction instead of potato chips. This is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week.